He was handsome. He was charming. A rising political star in Washington state. He volunteered at a suicide hotline, saving lives on the phone, one call at a time. He even wrote a pamphlet teaching women how to stay safe. But while doing all of that, he was driving a tan Volkswagen Beetle, wearing a fake arm cast, asking women for help. One by one, they said yes. One by one, they never came home. At least 30 confirmed victims, possibly more than 100. And the most terrifying thing about him? He looked exactly like the man you'd want your daughter to marry. This is the story of Ted Bundy. November 24th, 1946. Burlington, Vermont. Eleanor Louise Cowell checked into the Elizabeth Lund home for unwed mothers. She was 22 years old, unmarried, terrified. The father's name on the birth certificate? Unknown. To protect the family's reputation, her parents made a decision. They would raise the baby as their own son. Louise would become his older sister. His grandparents would become his parents. For years, he believed every word of it. When he was 4, his sister Louise took him to Tacoma, Washington. She married a man named Johnny Bundy, a hospital cook. Ted took his stepfather's last name, Ted Bundy. A boy built entirely on a lie. A boy who didn't know who he was, or where he came from. And that confusion would eventually cost 30 women their lives. In Tacoma, the signs came early. At just 3 years old, his aunt woke up from a nap surrounded by kitchen knives, all pointing at her. And standing there was Ted Bundy, smiling. At school, he never fit in. Shy, awkward, constantly teased. Years later, he admitted, "I didn't know what made people want to be friends. I didn't understand social connections." By his teenage years, the darkness was growing. He began peeping through windows, stealing, shoplifting, forging ski lift tickets. Arrested twice before the age of 18, but both records were wiped clean, all while he was building a second life that nobody could see. In 1966, things changed. University of Washington. Ted studied psychology. He became charming, popular, confident, and then he met her. Rich, beautiful, from a powerful family. Everything Ted Bundy had ever wanted. She was perfect, he once told a friend. They dated for more than a year, until she ended it. She told him he was going nowhere. No direction, no ambition. He was devastated. But over the next few years, he rebuilt himself. He joined politics, worked for the governor of Washington, got accepted into law school. By late 1973, he had won her back. They were talking about marriage. Then, in January 1974, he vanished, stopped answering her calls. When she finally reached him, he said in a flat, emotionless voice, "I have no idea what you mean." And then he hung up. Revenge complete. The following month, he started killing. January 4th, 1974. He broke into the basement apartment of 18-year-old Karen Sparks. She was asleep. Ted Bundy beat her with a metal rod from her bed frame. She survived, barely, but was left with permanent brain damage. February 1st, Linda and Healy, 21 years old, who broadcast the ski report on Seattle radio every morning. He broke into her room at night, beat her unconscious, dressed her, and carried her away. Her alarm kept ringing the next morning. No one knew she was gone. Then it became routine. Month after month, another disappearance. March, Donna Manson, 19, walking to a jazz concert. April, Susan Rancourt, 18, walking back to her dorm. May, Roberta Parks, 22, on her way to meet friends. June, Brenda Ball, 22, last seen in a parking lot. June again, Georgianne Hawkins, 18, vanished while walking just 90 feet between two buildings. All young, all bright, all with long dark hair parted in the middle, all resembling the woman who had rejected him. How was he doing this? No struggle, no witnesses, no clues. The answer was deception. Ted Bundy would approach women on college campuses with an arm in a sling, books scattered on the ground, playing the role of someone injured and harmless. He would ask politely for help. "Excuse me, could you help me carry these to my car?" They said yes because he appeared safe, handsome, polite, educated. The moment they turned their backs, he would strike with a crowbar, rendering them unconscious in seconds before placing them into his car and driving away. The passenger seat was often removed or altered, leaving victims hidden from view and reducing chances of escape or detection. He would then drive them into remote mountain areas, where they were never seen again. During this time, he also worked within the Department of Emergency Services, the very system investigating the disappearances, reading reports, and tracking police awareness, allowing him to stay one step ahead of the investigation. July 14, 1974. Lake Sammamish State Park. A beautiful Sunday with more than 40,000 people gathered under the sun. Families, laughter, normal life in motion. And in the middle of it all, Ted Bundy was hunting in broad daylight. He wore a white tennis outfit, his left arm in a sling, moving casually through the crowds. He approached woman after woman with the same calm story. "I'm Ted. Could you help me load my sailboat?" Most said no, but 23-year-old Janice Ott said yes. She told her friends she would be right back and was never seen alive again. 4 hours later, he returned to the same park with the same approach. This time, 19-year-old Denise Naslin left to use the restroom and never came back. 2 women, same park, same day, gone in front of tens of thousands of witnesses. Yet people did notice fragments, a name, Ted, and a tan Volkswagen Beetle. A composite sketch was released across Seattle newspapers, and those who knew him looked at it and recognized something familiar. They even joked that it looked like Ted Bundy, but dismissed it because he worked for the governor. And that's where the case began to twist into something far more unbelievable. September 1974. Bundy moved to Salt Lake City, enrolled at the University of Utah Law School. New state, new city, new hunting ground. Utah, Colorado, Idaho, different states, different police departments. No communication between them. Bundy knew this. He used it. Then, November 8, 1974. He chose the wrong woman. Carol Duranch, 18 years old. Shopping mall in Murray, Utah. He approached her dressed as a police officer. "Officer Roseland, Murray Police Department. Someone tried to break into your car. Come with me to file a report." She got into the Volkswagen. When he pulled over on a dark road, he lunged at her with handcuffs. But in his rush, he fastened both cuffs on the same wrist. She fought. She screamed. She kicked him in the face and ran into traffic, handcuffs dangling from one wrist. Carol Duranch survived, and she remembered everything. August 16, 1975, 3 a.m., Salt Lake City suburb. Officer Bob Hayward spotted a tan VW Beetle. Lights off, creeping through a quiet neighborhood. He followed. Bundy ran 2 stop signs before pulling over. Hayward searched the car. Inside, a ski mask, a crowbar, handcuffs, rope, an ice pick, trash bags, a mask made from pantyhose. Bundy said it was all normal household items. Carol Duranch was brought in for a lineup. She pointed immediately. "That's him. That's Officer Roseland. Ted Bundy. Charged. Convicted. Sentenced. 1 to 15 years. For the first time, he was behind bars. But Ted Bundy was already planning. Colorado wanted him for murder. He was transferred to Aspen. He chose to represent himself. As his own attorney, no handcuffs required. No shackles. He was allowed to visit the courthouse law library. June 7, 1977. During a recess, the guard stepped outside. Bundy walked to the second-floor window and jumped, sprained his ankle on landing, limped through Aspen, hiked into the mountains, survived in abandoned cabins for 6 days. 150 officers searched. Helicopters, bloodhounds. Then, he walked back into town, stole a car. A patrol officer spotted the car swerving, thought it was a drunk driver. It was Ted Bundy, recaptured. 6 days of freedom. But already, his second escape was being planned. Back in jail, Ted Bundy began losing weight deliberately. Every night, while other prisoners showered, he slowly worked on an escape plan, sawing through a ceiling panel, cutting a 1-square-foot opening through steel-reinforced bars using a blade smuggled in by visitors. Over months, he dropped about 35 pounds to fit through the space. He practiced moving through the crawl area at night, and an informant even warned guards about sounds in the ceiling, but no serious search was conducted. On December 30th, 1977, during a holiday shift with minimal staffing, the opportunity came. The jailer left for the evening. Bundy stacked books under his blanket to simulate a sleeping body, then squeezed through the ceiling opening and dropped into the jailer's apartment. He put on the officer's clothes and walked out the front door. 17 hours passed before anyone realized he was gone. By then, he had already reached Chicago, taken a bus to Michigan, watched the Rose Bowl in a bar, then flown to Atlanta and traveled by bus to Tallahassee, Florida, a place where no one recognized him and where he would carry out his final attacks. January 15, 1978. Around 3 a.m. at Florida State University, the Chi Omega sorority house was quiet, until the back door, left unlocked, became the entry point for Ted Bundy. In less than 15 minutes, he moved through 4 bedrooms. Margaret Bowman, 21, was struck with a piece of oak firewood. Her skull fractured, and she was strangled. Lisa Levy, 20, was beaten, strangled, and sexually assaulted. She did not survive. Karen Chandler and Kathy Kleiner were also attacked, but survived with severe injuries, including fractured jaws and crushed skulls. A dispatcher later relayed the chaos. "Sarge, we've got 2 dead and 2 dying." After leaving the sorority house, he walked 8 blocks and attacked a 5th woman in her apartment, who also survived but was left permanently deaf. 5 victims in a single night, 2 murdered, 3 surviving with life-altering injuries. One investigator who arrived described it as, "All that built-up feeling burst out in a shark frenzy. He was completely out of control." 3 weeks later, he wasn't finished. February 9, 1978. Lake City Junior High School. 12-year-old Kimberly Leach left her homeroom to get her purse. A witness saw a man push a crying girl into a white van. She was never seen alive again. Her body was found 7 weeks later, in an abandoned pig shed, 35 miles from her school. She was his last victim. February 15, 1978. Pensacola, Florida. Officer David Lee spotted a stolen Volkswagen Beetle. He pulled it over. The driver fought, kicked the officer down, ran. A tackle, a struggle, handcuffs. When fingerprints came back, the officer realized he had just captured one of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives. As they drove to the station, Bundy said quietly, "I wish you had killed me." 1979, Miami, Florida. The first murder trial ever broadcast on national television in the United States. 250 reporters from 5 continents. Women packed the courtroom every day. Love letters, marriage proposals. Bundy represented himself, cross-examined witnesses, smiled for the cameras. Then, the bite marks. Dr. Richard Suverin placed photographs on the screen. The bite marks on Lisa Levy's body, and a cast of Ted Bundy's teeth. "Our teeth are almost as good as fingerprints," he said. Ted Bundy left these marks. No question. And Rule, who had worked beside him at the suicide hotline, sat in the courtroom and watched. When the evidence was confirmed, she walked into the hallway and threw up. "I knew he did it," she said. "I finally had to accept it." The jury deliberated less than 7 hours. Guilty. Death sentence. Judge Cowart looked at Bundy and said, "You're a bright young man. You would have made a good lawyer. But you went another way, partner." 10 years on death row, Ted Bundy delayed, appealed, and negotiated for time. He confessed in fragments, never fully disclosing everything at once, often withholding details in exchange for legal leverage. He admitted to at least 30 murders, though investigators have long believed the real number could exceed 100. Evidence and testimony suggested he kept trophies from victims, including severed heads, and returned to burial sites in remote mountain areas multiple times after the crimes. On January 24, 1989, outside Florida State Prison, crowds gathered with signs reading, "Burn, Bundy, burn," along with chanting and celebration. Inside, Bundy was strapped into the electric chair. His final reported words were, "Jim and Fred, give my love to my family and friends." At 7:16 a.m., a 2,000-volt current was administered, and he was pronounced dead. His remains were later cremated, and his ashes were scattered in the Cascade Mountains of Washington, near areas associated with his early crimes. After his death, 73 psychologists studied him for years. IQ of 136. No brain damage. No psychosis. Conclusion: textbook psychopath. Narcissistic personality disorder. Zero empathy. Zero remorse. He understood pain. He simply enjoyed inflicting it. In his final days, a prison officer sat with him. He asked, "Ted, why? Why all of this? Bundy looked at him calmly and said, I liked it. No disease. No demons. No trauma he couldn't overcome. He liked it. A boy born into a lie. Raised inside a secret. Rejected by the woman he loved. Given the choice to heal or to destroy. He chose. Psychologists agree. Ted Bundy was not born a killer. He became one. One decision at a time. The trigger came, and the world paid for 30 years. Every case has a shadow. This was his. Was Ted Bundy born this way? Or did the world create him? Tell us what you think below. Subscribe to the Shadow Files. Because some files were never meant to stay buried.